even though there's probably pictures of me just like this guy, I didn't want to embarrass Aiden. And so I decided not to put this up. So I just found just a random picture. But I can almost guarantee you that there's probably been some moments where Aiden has seen me like this. One of the things as an adult that I'm noticing is that I am always tired. And that's my question. And that's one of the weirdest things about getting older and being an adult is like, why am I always tired? Part of that, I think, is that as an adult, well, you always have a lot on your mind. And you're always worried about stuff. There's just always stuff going on. And you're just constantly thinking and thinking and thinking. And you're doing that every day. And that gets exhausting. I had all kinds of energy when I was a kid. I couldn't stop. And when I look at my sons, they have a ton of energy. And so it reminds me a lot of what I used to be like. And I think to myself, man, I really, I wish I had enjoyed that more when I was younger, just having all that energy. He says to people that are listening to him, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter into the kingdom of heaven." It's kind of an interesting thing to say. If you're an adult, how do you become like little children? Well, let's unpack that for a few minutes and try and see if we can get to the bottom of what Jesus is talking about there. Thinking about this, one of the images that came to mind was that of an archer. And, well, what are the tools that are associated with being an archer? Well, the first thing is, well, you have the archer. You have the person that is handling all these tools. And so I thought to myself, well, okay, well, who's the archer? And so for me, I realized, well, it kind of feels like God is the archer. I think that one of the things that, because God allows us the freedom to be able to make our own choices, right? We're not robots. He doesn't program us to do certain things. And so if we're thinking about archery, well, he doesn't really aim us. He kind of lets us aim ourselves. He's just holding us, which I thought was so interesting. So we move on to the next tool in archery. Well, you have the bow. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, what is the significance of the bow? And well, the bow is the tool that holds all the energy. And so if you think about the action when you're using a bow, usually when you're about to launch an arrow, well, you grab the string as part of the bow and you're pulling it back. And so as you're pulling that back, that's creating energy. But it's not just the string. One of the other things that's happening is that as God's holding us and he's launching us, well, the string, it's holding energy, but that the bow itself is also, it's changing shape. It's building up potential energy. Next tool in all this.
Arrow.
It's the arrows, right? And so the question was, well, okay, what's the significance of the arrow in all of this? And so the way I thought about it was, well, the arrows are like the days of your life. And so God has this quiver on his back that he's using that has all of the days of your life. Each one of those is an arrow. All right. And so the last part of all of this is, well, if you've got a bow and arrow, you've got an archer. Well, you've got to have a target, right? There's something that you have to be aiming at.
It's something you gotta hit.
It's something you got to hit, exactly. Because otherwise, you're just...
What's the point of shooting? Like, what do you shoot?
Exactly. If you're just randomly launching arrows into the air, well, that's kind of dangerous, right?
You don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we want to make sure that we're careful about where those arrows are going. So we need a target. Okay, well, the question then becomes, well, if we're talking about how all these other tools signify something, then what does the target signify? But at the middle of all of this, you have the bullseye, right? And so the question is, well, what's What's in the, if we're talking about identity, what's at the bullseye? What's at the middle? What are we trying to hit if we're talking about launching an arrow? Well, I like to think of it like this, that in the middle, the bullseye, well, that's who you are as God says that you are. It's who you are in Jesus. And that's something that we want to try and aim for every day, right? Is who we are in Jesus. But one of the things that I'm finding as an adult is, as I go around and I'm dealing with my adult problems, my adult issues, well, I'm realizing that God has a way of reminding me of the things that I learned as a kid. I think about the songs that I learned in chapel. I think about the lessons that I learned in chapel, the prayers that I learned. And as I'm doing that, I start realizing that, well, as an adult, it's not that those things that I enjoyed doing as a kid and who I was as a kid, it's not that those things are gone. It's just that I kind of forgot that they were there. Remember those things, and let's try and adjust your aim a little bit. Let's look past those outer circles, and let's look again at that bullseye. Let's look again at who you are in Jesus, and aim for that bullseye. Because I was never supposed to be the one aiming myself. It was always supposed to be something that was supposed to be done together in partnership with God. Psalm 139, verse 14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know that full well. So, there's a certain feeling that comes when the arrow of your life hits the bullseye. It feels better than when you hit those other circles. And it feels better because, well, when you look at yourself the way that God sees you, then you see that He's made you to be someone unique, someone beautiful. And He's given you natural gifts, natural talents, and natural curiosities about certain things. And that He's made you uniquely different from anyone that's come before you and anyone that's going to come after you. Never stop believing who God tells you that you are. And only listen to those voices that are aligned with who God has told you that you are. Because there's only two people anywhere that are qualified to tell you who you are. God and you. And when you do that, you and God, you're going to hit the bullseye of your life each and every day. And when you're old like me, you get to say that even though your hair is a little bit grayer and you're a little bit more wrinkled and you're a little more tired, well, I kind of feel like a kid again. And I believe that Jesus is with me every day in everything that I do. And I don't think I would trade that for anything.